Before submitting your tax return, watch this video for a final checklist. Welcome to TOI Wallet Talks. Just before you finally submit your income tax return, we answer some of your common queries on the final checks, refund claiming, tax payment, and e-verification. Explaining these in simple terms is Shalini Jain, tax partner at EY India. Welcome to the show, Shalini. So the aim of today's episode is basically to tell our viewers that, just before you finally submit the return, there is a final checklist there in case you're looking to claim a refund or you have a tax payment. How should you go about it? What is the e-verification process? So we are trying to, simplify that, and which is where you come in. So in that context, first up, tell me what is the final checklist before I submit my tax return?
So, Smriti, I think when you are filing your tax return, what you need to ensure is that you've captured all your income, all your exemptions, all your deductions. I think that's the most critical element. So, and I would say go back to all your base documents. Look at your Form 16, which has been issued by the employer, whether you've captured your salary income correctly. Any other income other than salary income on which taxes have been deducted, you would have got a Form 16A for bank interest, commission, professional fee. Look at that. Look at your Form 26AS, which can be downloaded from the income tax website, which you would have in any case used for preparing your tax return. Ensure that all the income that is getting reported there, all the taxes which are deducted and getting reported on Form 26AS, those have also been captured. In fact, Form 26AS also gives details of any advance tax or any self-assessment tax or any TCS, tax collected at source, which may have been deducted and paid on your behalf. Then look at your AIS statement. Again, that is very critical because now AIS, annual information statement, which can be downloaded from your e-filing portal, captures all your income streams. So if you've forgotten about some, say, capital gains, the AIS will tell you that you've sold some shares, mutual funds, or any financial security. Look at your bank statement. So the reason I'm reiterating is that when you're just about to click your submit button or about to pay the taxes which have been determined, just make sure that you look at all the backup documents, bank statements, your capital gains account statements, housing loan certificate, your any receipts for any deductions before you file your tax return. One thing that a lot of individuals tend to forget is that if you are a ordinary resident and if you have any foreign assets, assets overseas, so you are required to file the details in the foreign asset schedule. So I think that is again a very important check you should do. And if your income is more than 50 lakh, then you also need to complete the asset and liability schedule, which is called the AL schedule. So I think once you've gone back to all your backup documents, duly verified your computation of income and taxes, then you are ready to file your return.
Okay, and what if there is a tax liability that is getting thrown up? How do I pay tax?
Yeah, so I think first you need to ensure that all the taxes which have been deducted at source, TDS has already been accounted for. So you check that. You check if you have already paid some advance tax during the year or you've paid any self-assessment tax prior to filing of the return. All that has been paid. If after taking into account all the taxes deducted by way of TDS, TCS, advance tax, self-assessment tax, and if there is still a tax liability, then there is an option now when you're filing a tax return. It says pay now at the bottom of the e-filing page. If once you click on pay now, you will be directed to the e-pay tax service through which you can now pay your taxes. On e-tax page, all the details would already be filled in, like your PAN, the amount that you need to pay, split between tax, interest, etc. And now that can be paid either using your online bank account, UPI, debit card. So whichever mechanism is mentioned there, you can pay the taxes. And once the taxes are paid, then the challan will get generated. And once you have the challan, you go back to the tax payment schedule and input those self-assessment tax details in your tax return before validating and proceeding further to file the return.
Okay, and in case there is a refund, how do I, one, claim for a refund, and two, how do I track the status of that refund?
So for the income tax refund, you can simply track the refund through the online e-filing account. Once your return is processed, the refund will be reflected on the homepage of your e-filing account. It usually takes about 15 to 20 working days for the refund to get credited upon processing of return. And one can also view the status, of refund within 10 days after the request has been sent by the assessing officer to the refund banker. It can be done on the TIN NSDL website by entering the PAN and assessment year. So that's how you can track your refund.
If, for example, I have submitted my tax return and I realize that I need to revise it. So are there any timelines up to which I can revise my tax return, and what are the processes for that?
Yeah. So if you have, if there are any errors, so it could be any error, misreporting, or change in the tax calculation, with respect to your original return, then the income tax department definitely, provides you for a second chance to rectify such error or to include any unreported income and file a revised return. And the provision for filing revised return is under section 139(5) of the Income Tax Act 1961. And the process is pretty much the same. You have to, do the filing of the revised return like the original return. However, you are additionally required to update the acknowledgement number of the original return along with the details of under which section you are filing the tax return. And you can include all your income, or you can rectify whatever error that is there, and update your return and file a revised return. Now, in terms of timeline, the revised return can be filed like for financial year 22-23, for which individuals are filing their tax return before 31st of July. The timeline for that revised return is 31st December or completion of 31st December 2023, or before completion of assessment, whichever is earlier.
Once your return is assessed, you cannot file a revised one.
It is either the time limit is 9 months from 6 months from the date of filing of return, which is 31st December in the instant case, or before completion of assessment, whichever is earlier.
Okay. Let's say now we've filed our tax return. What about e-verification? It's one of the easiest options available instead of sending the proof of filing return by post.
Yeah, that's correct, Smriti. In fact, it is a very simple process now. So once the income tax return is submitted, you will be directed to an e-verify page. And there are options e-verify now or e-verify later. So on the where you choose e-verify now, it can be, the e-verification can be done by EVC generated through ATM, or generate EVC option under my account through Aadhaar OTP, through some pre-validated bank account or a pre-validated demat account. So these are the 4 options for when you want to do e-verification now, or you can opt for verifying it later. So e-verify later or verify through ITRV. Under both the options, you need to ensure that verification is done within 30 days of filing of return. If the return ITRV has to be sent to the Central Processing Center in Bangalore, it has to be done within 30 days of filing the return.
Unless you e-verify it within that.
Unless you e-verify it within 30 days or you e-verify now. In fact, most taxpayers prefer to immediately e-verify because they can use the Aadhaar OTP. The OTP will come on their phone instantly, and the return filing process can be completed there and then.